to CJ. And yes, we have here a DC film slate discussion. We're going to go through and break down every movie. You know, do we think it's going to succeed? What are we looking for in the movies? Nick, as you know, big fan of DC. I as well. I'm very excited for the upcoming movies. And I see a lot of promise here. I've been saying it. I think I said it in the discussion that we did with Jay Rohr, ZNT, and Armin. I don't think you could have watched any Justice League cartoon, read up reading DC, and not be at least a little bit excited for this, just because of the possibilities. So much potential here, really.
Yeah, it's the start of a whole universe.
Exactly, and as you see, they planned it out, and I'm kind of really pleased that they planned it out, just because, you know, it gives us an idea of what to expect. A lot of people are saying, hey, you know, maybe if one of these movies falls, it could affect some of the plans, but I don't know. I think it's a much different time than when DC tried to start their own film universe. I mean, back with Green Lantern, it's just the game has changed a little bit, and so I think it's going to be easier for them to get traction just because people are much more open to the idea of, I think, superhero movies in this fantastical realm. And there's some of that to thank for Marvel, but I think, you know, DC's got a lot of interesting characters, and I mean, we start off with Batman versus Superman, so it's a good segue here to, I think, probably the two most popular characters in the world. And that's
definitely, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That's got so much pull. And then you add Wonder Woman, and I would say she's top 5, probably. She's most certainly probably the most popular female character in the world. But I mean, it's not, that's the one that we're hearing the most about from now, and I'm really excited for it. It's clearly very interesting because it's so informed by you know, The Dark Knight Returns. The big question marks, though, because this is the start. This is the linchpin. This kind of has to go off a little bit better than Man of Steel, which didn't do all that bad, but it's split people pretty much down the middle. It's got to do a little bit better than that, you know, to get this thing going, to get this thing off the ground, and certainly a big factor in that will be Ben Affleck.
Yes, trust in the Affleck.
Trust in the Batfleck. We were just talking about that. I mean, you know, he looks much more the part now. He's definitely, I mean, they were talking about the rumors about him being 6'4" and, you know, showing off we were just talking about him showing off the guns. He looks like he's been hitting the gym. That was the big question mark surrounding him. But the other interesting thing about 2016 is the Suicide Squad movie to me. I think we've talked a lot about Batman vs. Superman in previous videos. So let's explore the unknown here. Nick, what are you looking for in a Suicide Squad movie?
I'm pretty much looking for, like, a really interesting movie that can focus more on characters that aren't good at all. Like, I've seen a couple of videos talk about this, and they said that, like, in most films like this, where there's a hero that, like, starts off bad, they become good by the end of it. Like, we actually like them, but they said that they would rather have it, like, where we don't like them by the end of the movie. Like, they're still evil, like, through and through. Like, I think that'd be really awesome.
That'd be fantastic. And I mean, you look at the A-list cast that they've got lined up for it, and the rumors today, of course, being that they are very close to signing, I think, 3/4 of that cast that they're trying to assemble. I think Ryan Gosling is the only one that is not close, according to reports, but Tom Hardy, Margot Robbie, and Will Smith are reportedly very, very near to signing on. David Ayer, too, coming off what has been, you know, a critically acclaimed movie in Fury. Good turn there. That's another team. Good character dynamics, lots of interpersonal relationships. I think this is, I mean, it's clearly a direct response to Guardians of the Galaxy, to me. And I think it could go like a step further, a step more into the dark, if you will. Kind of Guardians of the Galaxy, but with an edge. That was the knock on Guardians of the Galaxy was, it's too humorous. But I think, or that was the knock for people that didn't go into the movie looking for that. But I think, you know, Suicide Squad, it'll probably have some humor. I mean, I don't see how it couldn't, but it'll definitely probably, I'm looking for a very badass movie. I want kicking ass, taking names, but I agree with you. I want them to stay bad. I want us to know that this is, you know,
they're like the worst of the worst,
yeah.
Like the most wanted, you know.
Literally, they're the top of the most wanted list. They're the baddest criminals. They're basically like death row. And
yeah, I think it'd be cool to see, like, they don't like each other and stuff. I think it'd be cool to see, like, they're willing to, like, eliminate each other if they have to, like, complete something. It'd be pretty awesome.
That'd be a good dynamic as well. I think there's, and I don't want to say like a Hunger Games aspect of it, but I mean, there's almost like that. Who can you trust? Like, can they work together? And I'd like to see that explored as well. Amanda Waller clearly going to have to be a big part in that. She's rumored to have a part in Batman vs Superman, although I don't think we've really heard too much about that. But Suicide Squad, definitely looking forward to that.
Even David Ayer said in a recent interview that he basically confirmed Captain Boomerang is going to be in the movie. So
that'll be crazy. I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, Tom Hardy, Captain Boomerang," and I'm not. That's not my first choice.
He could be Deadshot, though. I'd see him.
He looks so much like Deadshot without the mask on. I think.
Yeah.
I'd really love if he has the little mustache, but it'd be really funny. Anyways, 2017, looking forward, we got some bigger names than Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman and the Justice League. These are two heavy hitters. Wonder Woman, I think that's another one where she's, like we said, top 5. She gets her standalone movie, and this is, I don't want to trivialize it by saying that it's almost a novelty, and that'll definitely attract some people, but it would be the first real, female-led superhero movie, or at least of this age.
Well, we got Elektra. I mean, come on.
We did. Oh yeah. I'm sorry.
It's great.
It's great that Daredevil did actually end up marrying Elektra, though. But no. So it'd be great to see, sort of a AAA, really, really good, female-led superhero movie. And the report is that they're looking for a female director. So, 2 birds, 1 stone, both things that are very rare, female-led superhero movies and female directors. It'd be really, I'm not even sure who they could get as a director. I think the first name that comes to mind is maybe Catherine Bigelow. She's got a history with some war movies, The Hurt Locker, stuff like that. It'd be interesting to see how that translates. I don't really have anyone else on a short list for that. They're definitely in the exploratory stages. They're pretty far off there. What are your thoughts on the Wonder Woman movie?
Let me just comment on the female director thing. I saw someone comment something really interesting today. They said that they'd actually like to see a female director only for the fact that Wonder Woman has always been a symbol of like female empowerment.
Yeah.
And representing that community, and who better than to do that if it was a female director, like in this day and age, I mean.
Absolutely. But that's one of those things where she really was like in the, even going back to like the Linda Carter, Wonder Woman series and be like way before that to the creation of the character, she's definitely, challenged the gender norms and ideas of the day. And I think that would be another thing that would draw a lot of people to the theater is, to see that personification of strong women and of feminism, come to the big screen. And she's certainly a tentpole character of the Justice League. So
yeah, I think it's really interesting too that she's going to get her movie before Justice League. I actually like that a lot.
Yeah, me too. I think it kind of rounds out the the whole Trinity thing that they've got going on in Batman v Superman. And it definitely sets up those 3 characters for, the central roles in the Justice League. You know who the main players are.
Yeah.
Kind of like Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor, but, there's Wonder Woman.
Yes.
Justice League. And that's a really, really, interesting one. That's the big one. And so many people are saying, it's coming pretty soon, it's coming too fast.
Yeah, they're rushing it.
Yeah, I'm not sure, because so much of it, and I can see how some people would think that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not, blind to that argument. It is pretty quick. It's a quick turnaround time. But I think, it's not necessarily, this doesn't mean it's going to be bad. I'm going to ask you to recall X-Men First Class. Filmed in it was taken from development to production, and completed filming and essentially, released in all about the span of a year, which is like unheard of. People were like, "Oh, you're rushing it," and it turned out it's my favorite superhero movie ever made. Honestly, it's the rushing of it doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing, and it's 2017. It's way off, and I think I brought up it's so many people are saying they're rushing it, but the span of time between Iron Man to the Avengers was 4 years, and yes, you got a lot of movies in those 4 years. You got Iron Man, Iron Man 2, Thor, and Captain America, and The Incredible Hulk. So 5 movies in those 4 years before the Avengers. With this, from Man of Steel to Justice League, it's 6 years, or not 6 years, I believe 5 years. So it's a little bit of a longer time span, but in that time span, you're only getting 4 movies instead of 5. But the difference is it's not really palpable to me. I think so many people feel like it's a rush because they're announcing all this so far like in advance, but really it's essentially we're going to get more or less the same amount of character development when you think about it. generally, because I mean we got 2 Iron Man movies out of those 5, so I think rushing it is not necessarily a huge concern. What are your thoughts on the Justice League movie?
Well, like, I've seen people say that they're rushing it and stuff, but like, I don't know, because you don't really have to do it. I think it's because they're saying it because Marvel's done their universe where they set up like individual films first, and like DC is not really doing that approach. Like, well, at least for the first Justice League, but like you don't exactly have to do it like that. Like they can do their own thing and still do good. I mean,
true. I think it's really interesting to see that. Hopefully it'll come to life in a big way. And I think they'll come together, but I think once Batman vs. Superman comes out, once we start getting, official releases from that, the trailers and whatnot, and especially when the movie comes out, I think, some of the fears will be assuaged, especially if the movie pulls off everything that it's going for. But I'm excited. I think, who doesn't want to see a Justice League movie? Even if there's, only a slim chance that it'll be good. And I think there's much more than a slim chance, considering the team they've assembled.
Confirmed good. You heard it here first.
Chris Terrio, of course, writing all of this now, and that's another thing that bodes really well for me. Is he's an Academy Award-winning screenwriter, so definitely brought in the talent.
Yeah, get Goyer away from it and get him near it.
Yeah, Jeff Johns too. I mean, he's been given such a huge role in the DCCU. He's
basically like the Kevin Feige now. Like he's overseeing like everything now. I mean, it's crazy.
That's my understanding. He's pulling the strings and planning ahead. And I don't see how you can not be excited for that. Because, I mean, Jeff Johns is probably one of, if not the most prolific comic book writers of the last decade. I mean, you look at how he revolutionized so many characters. His take on, Green Lantern and so many others is considered like the definitive take. It's just, incredible to me.
Yeah, I mean, he wrote Green Lantern for like 8 years, basically.
Yeah, so. That's his baby. And that's why I really hope he's got, a writing gig with the new Green Lantern movie. I know a lot of people, would point to the last Green Lantern movie as evidence of why that didn't necessarily work out, but I think Green Lantern is really interesting, and I want to discuss that when we come to it. But Jeff Johns being given a big role is definitely a good thing. But, okay, so The Flash, and this is probably one of the most controversial already, if only for the casting of Ezra Miller. What do you think about that casting, Nick?
Well, like, just the casting alone, I'm not familiar with the actor, but I've heard that he's really diverse in like what type of roles he takes and how he can act. So I'm pretty sure he'll at least be a good actor. I just don't know like exactly what he's like.
True. I mean, really, the interesting thing to me is he's really been in a lot of dramatic movies. We need to talk about Kevin, Perks of Being a Wallflower. They're all not necessarily what you would consider light viewing. And so he's definitely got drama chops, big drama guy. But it's questionable as to if he can pull off the lightheartedness that a Flash kind of usually and might need to have. I mean, when you look on that team, you've got Wonder Woman, Superman, Batman, Aquaman, who's now going to be not a laughingstock and a big Samoan guy. I mean, he's Khal Drogo. Before we get to Captain Marvel, it's like the Flash kind of has to be at least a little funny. He's got to, there's got to be some chuckles in there, and I think it definitely has to come from the Flash. It's an important, aspect of their team dynamic. But, I mean, what gives me a little hope, and this is going to sound so dumb, but it's just call it a gut feeling that he's going to be okay. I mean, I remember when I was making the video on the announcement that Ezra Miller was going to play the Flash, I was Google image searching Ezra Miller, and beyond the picture that everyone's posted of him in makeup, because he considers himself queer. That's his own words, not not mine. I'm not trying to editorialize it. I'm not from the 50s. But he, every other picture really was him smiling and laughing, and he seems to genuinely be a pretty happy guy. And he seems to be, a pretty funny guy, a pretty, likable guy. It seems like as long as he's got that, and they want to do that version of the Flash, it seems like it'll translate really well to me. I mean, I feel like it'll be a pretty genuine performance. Any other thoughts on the Flash?
Well, like all the points you brought up, and also the Flash TV show is going on right now, and I know people might saying that they'll get confused between the two, but I think that like a lot of the people that are watching the show, it represents such a small viewer base, like, compared to the rest of the world and stuff, and people can get exposed to this character and, like, how lighthearted it is, and they can really relate to him, I think.
Yeah, it's only a couple million people that are watching every episode of The Flash, and I'm talking...
And people that go see movies, it's like 10 plus million. And
yeah, when we're talking about like $70 million opening weekends, it's huge. And so I think that'll be a big test. I know a lot of people are upset. They're like, "Oh, Grant Gustin, why isn't he the Flash? You know, come on, you know, what are you doing?" And it's like he's not really a movie caliber actor. I mean, he seems very good in the world they've set up on the CW, and who knows, maybe he will be a blockbuster caliber actor, but he's not at the moment, and they're keeping them separate, and I think that's confusing a lot of people, but I think it'll be okay. But anyways, on to Aquaman. Khal Drogo, that's a huge get. They're gonna, I mean, and that casting just tells you they're trying very hard to revolutionize the idea of Aquaman. They want you to forget that he was a laughingstock, which is essentially the result of the Super Friends TV show. They want you to just know him as a giant, badass Samoan warrior. And I think that's pretty cool. It's not the version of Aquaman that a lot of Aquaman fans would necessarily like, but I think they'll come to appreciate the savagery, the badassery that I'm sure Momoa will bring to the character. So any thoughts on Aquaman?
Well, a lot of people are saying that DC's version of Thor could be Wonder Woman, but in my opinion, I think it could be Aquaman just because of his world and his story, and how they're rumored to be his brother Orm in the film could be like their version of Loki, like that sort of relationship. And I think his just like the world of Atlantis could be represented like Asgard and stuff. Really
That's
awesome.
That's a really good perspective. I almost completely agree. I would say I think a lot of people are drawing the Wonder Woman comparison just for the God thing, and I'm not going to lie to you. I've made that comparison myself. I hadn't even considered the Aquaman part of that. But I was, it was like I was rewatching the Avengers just yesterday actually to celebrate the Age of Ultron news in my own little way, and it's kind of you just see how powerful they make Thor. Really, in that movie, you get your first look, because in the Thor movies, it looks like he's running around with other Asgardians. He looks kind of normal, maybe like just a strong guy. And then you get to the Avengers, and he's running around, he's taking hits from the Hulk. He's pretty much almost as strong as the Hulk, apparently, in that film. And he, you really get the feeling of that strength, and that's what I'd love to see out of Aquaman and Justice League, is it's like show that he is powerful, in relation to these other, powerful people.
Yeah, and also going on Aquaman's strength and stuff, I actually really liked Zack Snyder's comments on him too, like defending the character, how he could, like Aquaman's trident could cut the flesh off Superman, and like how he lives under, like so far beneath the surface, like imagine his strength at like above surface level, like.
That's a good point, and I think that's something that they've definitely, it seems like they're considering, especially when Snyder's saying things like that. And that should be reassuring for any Aquaman fan.
Yeah, he's a huge fanboy.
The last thing that they're going to do is make him just another, laughing stock. I don't think they want that. So I think, if they do, it's going to be unintentional, but I think, I really doubt that's going to happen. I think that's priority one with Aquaman, is badass. And I think that's a good thing. On to Shazam, Josh's most favorite character. I think the one thing that surprises me the most is this is so far away. 2019. Yeah. The first actor cast and the rest of the DCCU beyond Batman vs Superman is The Rock, and his movie doesn't come out for another 5 years. And it's kind of strange to me that they would wait that long on it, but it kind of seems like it almost reminds me of Josh's screenplay, as he's brought up, before, where his screenplays had Captain Marvel being introduced later and after Wonder Woman. But and maybe that's what they're trying to do. They want to set up Justice League, and then he's going to be almost like their Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, and they bring him in later, right before Justice League 2. But it's just interesting to me. I'm kind of surprised that they're so late. This one's so far out, we really don't know much more than Black Adam. But I don't know. I think that's maybe one of the best castings that I've ever seen. I love The Rock. Just loves the guy, and if you take him at his word, Black Adam is one of his favorite characters, and who else could play Black Adam other than The Rock? It's like I don't even know. But I mean, it depends. You've seen The Rock; he has a little bit of range. He's got some comedy to him. You saw that in Pain and Gain and a lot of the things that he's done in recent years. But he's also got some pretty good, action chops, and you see that in especially G.I. Joe Retaliation, which I think is it's not a great movie, but it's a better movie than a lot of people,
Or the Fast and Furious movies now.
Fast and Furious movies, he's also very good. But I mean, it's so far away. Like my one concern with this movie is I don't know who they're going to get to play Captain Marvel. I don't think there's really a go-to guy in Hollywood that they could get. So it's either going to be an unknown or they're going to have a guy that's got to pretty much change his entire appearance to play him. Your thoughts?
I mean, Shazam, he's not exactly a staple character for the Justice League, so I guess I can see why they're pushing it back so far. And they'll definitely have him in the second one, I think, though. But I don't know, it's still up in the air, whether or not he'll be connected, too, because I think the movie's going to be produced through New Line Cinema, too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of a tough sell, though, to have Shazam, because he's like a kid, basically.
I mean, I think I mentioned this to somebody yesterday. It was one of my roommates when we were talking about the DC, film slate. Essentially, it's like, you've seen that movie Big, right? With Tom Hanks?
Yeah.
Shazam is that. He's big. He's a kid that, pardon my paraphrasing, it's not entirely accurate, but he's a kid that woke up one morning and is suddenly, able to at will change into a, 30-year-old man that's one, jacked, and two, magical. So I've got to feel that there's got to be some comedy in there. It can't just be completely serious. I feel like that could be probably the most Marvel-esque of all the DC movies. Not just because it's Captain Marvel, but I think, that's got to have some lightheartedness to it. But it can also, I think that's going to be the one that's really going to maybe find the best balance between the lighthearted and the gritty, maybe even more so than the Flash. Just because he's a kid stuck in a man's body, and he's...
Yeah, but there's some good drama there, with his past and stuff.
Exactly. And I agree with that, and there's a lot of really interesting aspects that I'd love to see brought to the big screen. I think for better...
What's that?
I was going to say, I think it's better that it's connected, but...
Yeah, I really hope also that they play on the anti-hero aspect of Black Adam, because that's what The Rock's been saying a lot too. Yeah, The Rock he's been saying, I mean, pretty much, more or less what we might expect from, a guy who's playing a villain, but he's, and it bodes well, especially, because it's always better if a villain believes that what they're doing is right than just knowing they're pure evil. But it's definitely good that they play it up like that. He's a king. Everything he did was for his country, etc. But really interesting there. I'd love to see, because that might be a direct tie-in to Justice League 2 in a way. I mean, I doubt it. I can't see it right now, but it could, considering. And he might show up or at the end of that movie, he might, after credit scene, meet up with the Justice League or something like that. But that leads directly into Justice League 2. And I guess we could take a minute to discuss some of the rumors that are flying around, as to villains. Who would you like to see as the villains, Nick, of Justice League 1 and Justice League 2? Personally, for the first one, I'd like to see the Brainiac rumor fulfilled. I mean, that'd be pretty awesome.
I'm a big fan of Brainiac. I'm a big fan of Brainiac as a character, and I think he'd be really interesting to bring to this universe, really. I guess the rumor for the second one is Darkseid in some way, shape, or form, although I think that's heavily rumored at this point. Everybody's been kind of guessing that.
Yeah, I mean, he's been rumored to play the villain in that movie forever.
Yeah. And that would be a huge one. He's like the villain, and I doubt, if we see him in Justice League 2, I doubt he'd be defeated for good. We'd probably see him at a later date. But, it's a really, really interesting, choice there. The Justice League has some of the best villains in comics, and, all the characters themselves bring very strong rogues galleries as well. So, it really could be, anyone, but I kind of like that Brainiac Darkseid setup because both of them, Darkseid could have a hand in Brainiac, or at least in some way be doing something with that, and it definitely makes them a cosmic team like right from the get go. They're involved in universal affairs, I suppose you could say, and I think that's kind of big, and that's what they're going for. And this brings us to 2020, which is so far away. I mean, I can't even really conceptualize.
I was actually going back to Justice League
for
a
ahead.
second. I actually was thinking about like the placement of these movies, and Aquaman is in between both Justice League movies, which could set up for Throne of Atlantis actually for one of them, and the Atlantans actually be the villains.
That'd be crazy.
If they did that, that'd be pretty awesome.
1 second, sorry. Yeah, that'd be incredible. I think that'd be it would be a really interesting dynamic. It would almost be like a civil war. But we'll see. Everything's so up in the air right now. Rumors abound. But moving on to 2020, probably one of these is the movie I really want to see, which is Green Lantern, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
Definitely Green Lantern.
Cyborg. If you watched our DC movie talk, where I Kanye to Josh, Cyborg is the one that a lot of people seem to be, questioning. It's the hardest to pull off. I know you mentioned before it's definitely going to be the hardest one for them, probably to, do, just because he's such a lesser known character. But 2 Justice League movies, you think he's probably going to be in the mind of the fans at that point.
And he'll be in Batman v Superman. They're setting him up too.
True. So, what do you think we could see from a Cyborg movie?
I actually had a pretty interesting theory. What if the Cyborg movie was actually a Teen Titans jump-off point?
That'd be great.
Because it'd be so far in and like so established by that point. You could have the Robins in there and the Nightwing and all that. But I mean,
that'd be cool.
Yeah. I mean, either way though, Cyborg's really interesting because just because of his character, he's half man, half machine. Really, I mean, there's so much you can do with that. And
there's a good amount of drama. I think that one to me kind of stands out as how are they going to be able to tie that in to the goings on of the universe as compared to these other ones? Because I think most of these other ones, with the exception of Shazam, I can see really easily tying into the universe. But Cyborg is one that I'm not quite as sure. I think Teen Titans would actually be like a much better way to go about it, rather than just having Cyborg go it alone. If you had all these the sidekicks essentially of all the heroes.
Yeah, or even if they just had like Nightwing in there or something. I don't know.
Like a Nightwing Cyborg team up film. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
But then you got 2020 Green Lantern. I'm going to jump ahead to this just because Green Lantern is one of my favorite characters. Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart both, and even Kyle Rayner I really like. It seems like they might this one might be a little bit scary to them because of what happened last time. And I think I don't know if it's that or if it's just because I expect Green Lantern to probably be in Justice League, at least Justice League 2, because he's just such a DC tentpole character. But I'm trying to wrap my mind around why they would be rebooting him so late, and maybe it's just I think a lot of people look at it and say, they just want to give as much space as they can, but I think it's because you look at all these other years and you've got so many movies coming out. I think this might have just been like the first place in their story they could see to fit like a standalone, and I mean, really, this might sound blasphemous, but does Green Lantern really desperately need a standalone movie right away?
Yes.
I mean, his characters. I mean,
yes.
His character. I mean, I would want to see it. I'm not saying would I not want to see it, but I think his character can be pretty easily explained in Justice League. Oh, he's Hal Jordan. He's a test pilot. He's a Green Lantern. You can give a basic origin there, and then you go on. And I think in 2020 you could expand maybe more on the Sinestro part. What's the Green Lantern Corps like? But I don't think it's completely necessary in the interest of the universe to have him have his standalone like right away, like one of the first characters. Because I would agree with this pecking order they've set up, except for the fact that I would want Cyborg ahead of them. But I think it's the 2 reasons I listed. They want more space, and maybe this is the first place that they they fit him in the story. I think it's both of those reasons combined. I think by 2020 it'll have been 9 years, 10 years since the Ryan Reynolds Abomination. And I think...
Yeah, about 9 years. Yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be well out of the minds of the people.
Well, I don't know, because we still have people commenting about Daredevil, and that's 10 years after. I mean...
That's right. We might not. I mean, especially when that talk kind of, flares up. People will start talking about the Ryan Reynolds right around that time.
Yeah.
But I maintain, I still don't know what happened to that movie. It seemed like it was going to be so good.
That trailer, though.
Oh my goodness. Anyways, yeah. So that about, I guess, that's the one that I want to see.
I mean, like, I actually asked Jeff Johns this, like, the last time I met him, and I was like, are there any talks of rebooting Green Lantern possibly? And at the time he laughed and said, there's talks of everything, but I'm sure he knew that, they're going to reboot it. He just couldn't say anything at that point. Yeah. But
Jeff Johns is he seems like such a cool, genuine guy.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see which direction they go. There's a lot of rumors that they might not even use Hal. I think a lot of people are thinking they might use, they might jump to Jon Stewart. I doubt they'll jump to Kyle Rayner or even Guy Gardner, especially Guy Gardner.
It's so cool though, like, cause Hal Jordan can be like their equivalent of Star-Lord or something, this epic space cop, and I don't know, there's just so much to do with that universe.
Can we get Nathan Fillion to like just drink the Holy Grail and like just hit the gym until 2020?
Dude, he's already in shape. Just throw a suit on him.
He's in pretty good shape. Yeah, just put the suit on him and he's ready.
Yeah, and please, can we get a real suit this time, not a digital one?
Yes, please. Or at least, maybe enhance it with digital effects, but, give him something. I mean, even Downey Jr.
Yeah, even like a Man of Steel suit. Like a skin suit like that would be awesome.
Ugh, anyways. Anything else you want to add?
I'm super pumped for the DC universe, more so than the Marvel universe, just because you know where I stand on that. Overall, it's a great time to be a comic book fan.
Exactly, it's the best time, I think, and I'm cautiously optimistic myself. I list myself as that only because I want to be excited, and I'm allowing myself to be excited just because I think you kind of have to be excited about the possibilities. And I don't see how you can't be just a little bit, maybe just a little bit pumped for it. I mean, I'm a lot of bit pumped when I think of, we could have both Marvel and DC going at full cylinders, for the next 10 years. What would that be like? I would be broke from going to the theater so many times.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy to think that, like, over the next, like, starting in 2016, I mean, over those next few years, there's going to be, like, 6 to 7, up to like 9 movies a year. I mean, it's just crazy.
But I think I'm excited. I know you're excited. So in the comments below, let us know your thoughts. Are you excited? Which of these movies are you most excited for? For me, I think it's Green Lantern. Nick, what's your movie that you're most excited for?
Definitely. Well, apart from Batman v Superman, because I think that's my most excited, but I'd say probably Aquaman, actually.
I think, that's another good one that, might be very interesting to see. But, maybe in the comments below, secondary question. Which movie do you think would be the hardest to pull off for the DC universe? I'm going to say Cyborg.
Yeah, I'd say Cyborg, too.
Alright, so in the comments below, let us know what is your most anticipated and what is your, I guess, least anticipated, or, what you think they're going to have the most difficulty with. Anyways, that about wraps it up for us here. Signing off, this is CJ.
And I'm Nick.
And we'll see you next time.